I'm always excited when the subject of the day is eStats, and here, live and in person, we might have the king of the eStats, the latest flagship from STAX, the SR-X9000. We're out of the double aught series. We're into the, I don't know what the X9000 series is. These things. So I have been super fortunate to try a ton of eStats and review many of them here on the channel, from STAX, Odyssey, Hyphamen, Dan Clark Audio, and even like boutique manufacturer ES Labs out of Hong Kong. And you know, the deal is with eStats is like, man, they do this special thing. They do it, this thing that's different from a lot of dynamic and planar headphones I've heard. You know, they've got this speed and energy and detail and crispness and airiness, and at the same time, I also get frustrated by them. I want them to be more like planars and headphones and dynamic headphones that I love. And so there's always been this tension for me, this push and pull between, oh, eStats, wow, you're blowing my mind, and oh, eStats, stop blowing my mind. And I think, you know, not to lead with the punchline here, but with the X9000, I feel like we've really sorted out. This is like the most sorted eStat I've heard. It is the most complete eStat I've heard. Does that mean it's the best? I guess that depends what you want out of an eStat, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But anyway, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Look at this gorgeous, gorgeous thing. The build, and I think the design and its sort of industrial chic is just magnificent. Like pretty much all metal construction, beautiful leather. I like this sort of like brown and like, it's like almost a hint of blue in the anodization. These like jeweler's edge, chamfered edges, and everything is just crisp, tidy, tight. This little protective thing, and then you have the you can see that little like triangular pattern on the inside. The pads feel great. The sort of tilt, it feels sturdy. It's got that weird like super light STAX thing going on, where like these bits are still kind of heavy, and then everything else around it's just kind of floaty and light. Whoa, what's this? Where's the crazy ribbon cable? I can take it off. Oh my god, detachable cable, how exciting. If your cable gets messed up, you don't have to send in your entire headphone for service. And better yet, STAX includes in the box 2 different lengths of cable. Amazing. They listened. Yeah, no, I mean, at a headphone this price, like that for me feels like a must, and now it is, so great. Driving these things, the Energizer matters. That's like the synergy between eStat or eSpeakers, they like ear speaker, and its companion Energizer, its amp, is paramount. And that might be less true with some of like the lower lambdas that are a little more forgiving. But you know, things like the 007 was obviously like is a power hog, and you know, at the upper ends, the 009 and the X9, like, you need to give it the juice. It needs the right juice. It needs the good juice if you want to get the performance out of this really, really, really expensive headphone. It's annoying that it's not more forgiving, but it just isn't. You're not going to hear the magic out of this thing. I got to listen to it on, I think, 3 or 4 different Energizers. My favorite by far, and what I listened to it primarily on, was the LTA Z10E. Which is, I have a review of. It's a crazy machine, a jack of all trade kind of contraption from the Zodal guys. All right, let's get into it. What's it sound like, man? What's it sound like? The detail retrieval is just exceptional. It's insane the amount of detail it's able to put into your ears. Like places and tracks that I'm familiar with from listening to on very, very, very nice gear, where I'm like, oh, I know, there's a bunch of detail right here. Let me dial in my ears and listen. There's like more detail now. There's like another layer that I'm like, oh, I thought I heard the detail, but actually I was missing half of the detail. maybe not half, but I mean, still, it's the resolution is crazy on these things, especially the sort of upper mid range and air region, just the little twinkly bits. Oh man, so impressive. The soundstage is expansive, and the space between instruments is like palpable. You're like, oh, I thought there was a couple like inches between those two. No, no, no. There's like 3 feet now that I can sort of detect between sort of how I'm understanding the position of headphone of the performers and the instruments in space. Some sounds are like coming from inside my head. Some, feel like they're sort of swirling around me. It's a very unique presentation, very different. And man, sometimes it just feels like huge and epic. You put on like soundtracks and stuff, and it's like, wow, it just goes. It just goes and goes. But it's musical too. It's not just like a technical show off. I think sometimes some of the E-stats I've heard start to feel a bit dry, a bit clinical. They start to feel like they're more interested in showing you how fast and edgy they are than actually connecting you to the music. And that's not the case with these. These are a very musical headphone. Strings just have this presence. Listening to this German cellist, Anja Lechner, I think. Anga Lechner. Anyway, sorry, butchered. Just the fullness and you hear the bow rosin and the emotional swings the cello can play on you. Oh, so great. And the bass is powerful, and it goes deep. And it hits hard in a way that I've not experienced with E-stats. I'd say that ES1A, like in some ways, had my favorite E-stat bass before these, but this is like a crisper and better version of that. I say a lot. Sorry about that. Guitars jump out with you at that sort of twangy crispness that you want them to have, and percussion is so dynamic. It just bursts out of nowhere with just impact, and then you hear it resonate and you hear it decay with just amazing extension. It's so satisfying to listen to a drum solo on a like drum kit or like a Doombeck or some other kind of progressive instrument. It's just so enthralling. And like I said, I feel like this is the most sort of sorted, the most kind of complete E-stat for me. Like it's polished off a lot of the negatives. They're managed well. You can still get a little sharpness, especially if you've got this thing paired with the wrong energizer. But like I listen to Lou Reed's Perfect Day because there are some like peaks in it that can be like, ouch. And the peaks were just controlled really well. It still had the energy and the excitement, but it didn't overwhelm. It didn't get to that point where I reached for the volume knob to like crank it back down. And there are just layers of sound, and the vocals are just stuck in the center, and then instruments sort of, surrounding it, almost like you can almost picture like rows of orchestra street seats. Yeah, dynamics are crazy. Like put on Sing by Fortet, and it's just like, hold on tight, man. It's just bouncing you all over the place. So here's the thing, right? High-end planars, high-end E-stats, where do you fall? They're different. They do different things, and they excel in different ways. Comparing this to one of my all-time favorite headphones, the Susvara, on a great amplifier, sort of going back and forth, I think what stands out is that this tends to make the Susvara almost seem sort of soft and sweet, a little bit slower. But the Susvara has a thickness and a smoothness, much less expansive. And the Sus just doesn't have that snap and that crispness on the high end. And the punch down low on these is actually like, and this is far, a lot of people think it's bass slide. It's really not. It just needs the right amp. But I feel like this goes deeper, and its sound stage is projects out further and is a bit wider. But this is far, to me, still has a more natural, danger word, a more natural presentation to it. It just, the instruments and everything just feel a bit more tangible and real. Yeah, it's like there's so much detailed information here about the noise that the instrument is making, but somehow some of the tonality of it gets lost in that a little bit. So, does this like deal with all my tension about eStats? Am I just like, cool, this is my headphone forever, I'm good? I don't know. If you said you get one headphone, I don't know that this would be the one headphone for me to live with every day as a daily driver as the headphone. I think I still land in camp planar, even though I recognize that the technical prowess on this is just off the charts. That's my taste. Now, if you said, hey, you can have two headphones, this would certainly be very high up on the list of consideration, because it just does stuff that nothing else does. It just has this energy, this dynamics, and this resolution, this detail retrieval that is just, it's addictive. And I think at the same time, like I said, still balancing that musicality and that connection to the music. You're not in a lab, you're not analyzing, you're enjoying, and that's great. So kudos to the boffins at STAX for another home run here. Until next time, y'all, that's Signcraft signing out.